welcome back, Pat. What's up, buddy?
Yeah, not much. What's going on?
This is a different little location for us here.
Yeah, so Ben and I work a rotating shift. We work 5 days, 12-hour days, nights. We rotate. So we decided that instead of some of the long breaks that we have, maybe we'd stop after work at a park, make it look like we're doing some illegal activities.
Yeah, we're going to get busted for crack, for sure.
Yeah,
I don't know
well, we don't
going
have... Do you have crack?
Oh, doesn't everybody?
I don't... Okay. We should maybe rethink this then.
Well, I mean...
Because we totally look suspicious. We're the only two people in this park. Like, it's 5:30 in the morning.
Yeah, this is
like,
bad.
It's going to be funny if we get an actual cop to stop and be like, "What the fuck are you guys doing?"
Yeah, it won't be good.
There's no chance you're recording a podcast. Like, he's going to go back and be like, they're going to search our cars.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, that'll be good.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about it. I mean, you want to do...
Well, I think we've talked about it a couple times. We should do the case involving the Hennepin County Attorney, Moriarty. We've talked about it a little bit. So for those that aren't from Minnesota, Hennepin County is the biggest county in Minnesota by population. It's Minneapolis. It's the county attorney there's a real peach. She charged a state trooper for murder. There was like 3 charges, but it was like murder and a bunch of other bullshit.
For the death of Ricky Cobb II.
Ricky Cobb II, yeah. So what happened was they pulled this guy over in the middle of the night because he had no headlights on. And when they ran his ID, they got a cops alert, which for those that don't know, it's called Keep Our Officers Safe.
Basically, it's an alert saying this is a dangerous individual.
Yeah.
He was wanted, right? He had a warrant.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't an active warrant. He was wanted for questioning in a neighboring county. So they had him pulled over, and they had him there on the side of the road for like 20 minutes while they're getting hold of the other county to see, like, hey, do you want us to bring him in? Now, what they didn't, I think in the clip they said that they didn't know, but I find it hard to believe if they ran him, they didn't know, but he already had a felony strangulation charge.
Yes.
And this cop's alert was for a violation of a protective order for domestic violence. So what happened was there's a bunch of video out there on the internet showing it. The body cams have been released. The patrol cams have been released. But what happened was there were 3 officers, 3 state troopers there, and one of them was at the driver's side, and Trooper Londregan was at the passenger side. And the guy, Ricky Cobb, had taken off while one of them was, like, leaning into the car.
Well, let's back up for a second. So, in the video, you can see the officer at the door of the vehicle, on the driver's side vehicle, could not gain access. They wanted him to come out of the
you
vehicle.
can see him checking the handle. It's locked.
They were trying to take him in, right?
Yep,
they ordered him to get out of the car.
They told him a ton of times to get out of the car.
And Ricky Cobb said, "Am I under arrest?" and was not leaving the vehicle.
And he actually says, and there's a clip that we'll play where the lawyer says, the trooper said, the Ricky Cobb says, "Every time you guys tell me to get out of the car, I get arrested."
Yep.
So now,
on the other side of the vehicle is where you have Londregan on the passenger side of the vehicle. Londregan opens the passenger side door because the window is down. So he opens the door and unlocks the door for the trooper on the driver's side vehicle to open the door of the driver's side to then pull Ricky out of the car. As that trooper does that, he tries to reach in and either get the keys or unbuckle Ricky. I don't know what it is. But Ricky then puts the car in drive and proceeds to take off with both Londregan and the trooper on the driver's side vehicle both inside the car. Now, the trooper on the driver's side of the car, in the video, his waist is in the car. I mean, he's up to his thighs inside the car.
Yeah, he's getting dragged.
At that point, Londregan had his service pistol out and aimed, near point blank at that point.
He shot him. He killed him.
He shot him. He died later down the road, right? But he kept fleeing.
Yeah.
What?
I think that was a different case, that they drove a farther That was a different one.
No, he rolled down the road.
Well, it wasn't that far, though.
No, but he tried to flee.
Yeah.
So he ended up engaging him and killing him. Okay, now take it from there.
So they end up finding a gun in the car.
Okay.
Now, remember, I told you he had already had a felony domestic violence or felony strangulation charge that he was convicted of. So he's a felon in unlawfully carry, right? Unlawful possession of a firearm. He also has a cop's alert for violating a restraining order. And he knows, because he said it in the video, every time you guys ask me to get out of the car, I get arrested. So he's not getting out of the car. So what happened was the Trooper Londregan shot him. The Hennepin County Attorney's office decided to charge him with murder. So they went through all the evidence. They had, now, to back up a little bit, so we had the George Floyd thing here in Minneapolis. And since then, any use of force incidents with police, it's been obviously a hot topic, right? So, like, right away you had the Attorney General, Keith Ellison, and the Governor, Tim Walz, meeting with not Trooper Cobb, or Trooper Londregan, but Ricky Cobb's family, like, before anything.
Yeah.
And then Mary Moriarty decided she was going to investigate it. So she brings in this outside use of force expert. He says there's nothing here.
Well, they brought in it was a law firm to actually try to.
Well, so this is way before that. The first use of force person they bring in, he's like, there's nothing here. Like, this is a good shoot. They then use parts of his report. They don't use all of it, but to the grand jury.
Yep.
So they like cherry pick some of it, and some of the stuff that all the State Patrol troopers training instructors all said, like, hey, he followed our training exactly. Like, this is exactly how we train. This is what we teach them to do. Well, she used like bits and pieces of their testimony into the grand jury and like cobbled together this case. And so then they came out that he got indicted, and the governor immediately came out and said, there's something not right here. Like, this is not, I can't remember the exact words he used, but it was like, we find these charges troubling. And so people were asking if he was going to remove the case from her like he did with the George Floyd case. She wasn't the county attorney then, but he removed the George Floyd case to the Attorney General's office. And he said that he would look at it. If it keeps going on track, he's probably going to remove it. And so we keep progressing.
Let's back up again. When she cherry-picked the use of force experts' data, he came out as kind of like a whistleblower to the state troopers and said, that's not at all what I said. I said this in total, but she only took this snippet of what I said.
Right.
Because he ended up saying that it was good.
Right, so they ended up going through two use of force instructors, or use of force experts. And the second one also left right before they dismissed the case. But then all the Hennepin County prosecutors in the office said, we're not trying this case.
Right.
They disagreed with her. So what you have here is a DA trying to she wanted to prosecute a cop, and she thought this was her ticket.
Their moment to do so, yeah.
Yep. And so all these prosecutors, so then they went to this federal law firm, or all these former federal prosecutors in D.C. They hired this law firm out of D.C. to prosecute these people, or to prosecute this trooper. And they ended up paying him like $1 million or something. And then all of a sudden, like, they came out with a 60-page report, and they're like,
we can't do it.
You can't do this. And they're saying it's because they had a trial. They had the initial court hearing for Londregan, and the defense attorney said that he feared for his life and his partner's life. And they said, well, we can't. He never told us that.
It was new evidence.
It was new
That's
evidence.
What Mary Moriarty was trying to say.
Correct.
This new evidence had come out that, lo and behold, the state troopers that were both in the vehicle that were being dragged were in fear for their life, right?
Right, and neither of the troopers gave statements to her.
Right.
And so but everybody saw the body cam footage. Like, everybody's looking at the dash cam footage, and everybody knows, like, this is not
Right.
This was a good shoot.
I mean, it was looking at the video, and we've watched a lot of these where we've been critical. But we just saw one that was a vehicle shoot.
Yeah,
it was a terrible shoot.
Terrible shoot.
He's going to prison.
Yeah, he should.
And it goes back to what we were talking about before, where you have to be 100% right if you're an officer or trooper, in law enforcement. You don't get the chance to be wrong. I mean, you have to be right all the time. That's tough. But you also have the responsibility of making sure that you are doing your best to be correct, because someone's life is in the balance. Well, in this instance, it was 3 lives in the balance. It was 2 troopers and Ricky Cobb. And Ricky Cobb made the decision to take off, and Londregan tried to stop Ricky Cobb because his fellow trooper was going to be dragged down the road. And that's what happened. He got dragged down the road, fell out of the vehicle. Thankfully, his legs were missed by the rear tires. He wasn't seriously hurt. But he gets up and he says, "Holy shit, I just got dragged."
Yeah.
Right? I mean, he said it, that he had just been dragged.
Yeah, and we have some... so then she decides to drop... It comes out, like, last week, over the weekend, that... so rumor has it that there was a big DFL convention in town, and the rumors floating around the DFL convention were that Walls was going to remove the case on Tuesday. Mm-hmm. He was going to take it from her office and give it... The Attorney General was going to reassign it, because it was a state patrol, to some other county attorney. And so then she came out Sunday night and said, "We're dropping the case." But she didn't even call the defense. Like, the defense found out from an attorney.
From media.
From a reporter calling to ask, like, for their statement. And then the next day she went on this 45-minute press conference, and she basically tried the case to the media and, like, slandered all these people, and she lied through the whole thing. And so I think the press conference, the Trooper Londregan's lawyer, he just absolutely crushes her in an interview. And he said he wasn't even planning on doing an interview. Like, his statement was, it's about damn time. That was his statement the night before. And so then he said, "Honestly, I wasn't going to meet with you guys, but after I saw that spectacle this morning, I couldn't let her slander him." So we're going to play a couple clips. We'll talk about them after we play them.
The defense team, paid for by the Minnesota Police and Peace Officers Association, encouraged over 100 supporters to be bussed in, handed out free Support Londregan t-shirts, and created a gauntlet downstairs that the Cobb family was forced to walk through to get to court. Some of them taunted Ricky Cobb's twin brother, Rashad. Members of our staff were frightened at the spectacle, which reminded them of January 6th.
There you go, bringing in January 6th.
Right? Yeah, so here's the response from his lawyer.
"I do take great offense to that. These are people that supported a hero that was charged with murder. When did that become wrong? When did that become a problem? What have we become that you can't stand up on behalf of an innocent person? These people weren't storming the Capitol and putting police officers in harm's way, putting Congress people in harm's way. To draw a comparison to that just shows how delusional this person is. This is a person that should not, underline, all caps, bold, not be county attorney. We are not, again, underline, all caps, bold, not safer with Mary Moriarty in this job. She needs to resign.
So, I mean, you can tell just by how she handles things that she's an activist. Right?
Yeah.
She's an activist attorney.
Yep.
You see it. She calls in her own personal life, in her own belief system, her own sexual identity, and uses that as an excuse of why she was going to get taken off the case. I mean, she wholeheartedly believes, just like a lot of activists do, that she's completely correct and what she sees is what she sees. And you can't argue that. You can't argue with her.
You can't argue with her because you're not going to change that.
You're never going to change it, right?
So here's the next one they talk about. She talks about how the troopers never told him he was under arrest.
So, one thing I want to say here, in looking, and I've looked at this video over and over and over, one thing that always struck me was this. Ricky Cobb was detained for over 20 minutes on the side of the road. And that happened in part, he was pulled over because his lights were off. He very quickly turned his lights on. And he kept asking the state troopers, "What's going on? Do I have a warrant for my arrest?" The troopers said, "No, you don't," which was technically true. What he had is a pickup from Ramsey County. And the length of time that he sat there was because the State Patrol had called Ramsey County to say, "Hey, do you still want this guy?" Because if they didn't want him, they were going to let him go. And that hold expired sometime later that day. So in all the time, when you watch this video, Ricky Cobb, a black man who is stopped by white patrol officers on the side of the road, has no idea why he's being detained. None. The troopers never gave him that answer. The troopers never said, "Mr. Cobb, we are arresting you. Please get out of the car." They never gave him an opportunity to make that decision on his own.
So that just pisses me off.
Yeah, well, she's got to throw the race in there, too. It can't be that...
It's a black man with white officers. I mean, this is where we're at in this country right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so here's his response.
Ricky Cobb was never told that he was under arrest, and Cobb was surprised by Londregan opening up his car door. Well, let's look at that. Here is the criminal complaint in the case. All right, this is something that Hennepin County drafted that Mark Osler, on behalf of Mary Moriarty, signed. What does it say? There's a statement of probable cause. Top of the second page, when you say step out of the vehicle, when you're going to explain it to me, and then you all, Trooper A, injected by stating for the first time, this is a lawful arrest. At 2:16:57 a.m., just as Trooper A told the victim that he was under arrest. This is her own document. Yet she wants to look you in the eye and say he was never told that he was under arrest. A BCA agent, Tom Robb, who I happen to know didn't even get the courtesy, like the defense team, that they were dismissing this case, swore to this under oath. Mark Osler signed this on behalf of Mary Moriarty. Yet now she's saying, no idea, right?
So they go on in that press conference.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a lot there. But they go on and they show the video. And they tell him to get out of the car.
Mm-hmm.
And that he's under arrest like 30 times. I don't remember how many it was. It was a lot. Maybe it was like 13 or something.
I saw 3 or 4 for sure. I did see a lot before that, being fair here. I saw a lot before that where Cobb was asking, "Am I under arrest?" And they kept saying, "No, no, no." And it was while they were waiting to see what the county wanted to do. Right. And so there is a little bit of legal gray area there, right? Am I being detained? Am I under arrest?
Mm-hmm.
You can't. What crime has he committed at that point in time? That's what he's wondering in the vehicle. Well, you were driving without your headlights on, and we have you on suspicion of that. Plus, now we're looking at this hold. Plus, you're considered a dangerous individual. All these things are starting to add up for these troopers, is why they're holding him, and they're trying their best to not give him any information and not spin him up because they don't want him to run.
Right.
But then eventually the amount of time they spent there, that's what Mary Moriarty was going after, was how many times Ricky Cobb had said, "Am I under arrest?" And she just, again, omitted details. She didn't.
Right. She lied. She lied.
She's making it look like her side is right. And
correct. And that was her own document. Like, that was her own document. That was what they produced.
But already, I mean, you've already seen it. We know from her the way she acts. She's an activist. We know it's a black kid in a car and 2 white cops, activists, right? I mean, you're seeing this. And this is the problem with where we're at with law enforcement and the justice system. We're seeing activism take hold in frickin' everything. What do you got next?
So this one's about looks like it's about deadly force.
In the last weeks, the defense has presented 4 witness declarations containing new information.
This one's going to piss me off.
Yeah, it's the new information crap.
Trooper Londregan employed the use of deadly force against Ricky Cobb to protect 1, Trooper Brett Seide from death and or great bodily harm, and secondarily, himself from death and or great bodily harm. Is there something ambiguous about this? No. The county attorney's office had this from day 1 with respect to this case. And for her to come out now and say, oh my gosh, I had no idea the defense was hiding this great evidence, is just plain absurd.
So that clip doesn't really do it as much justice as we...
No, because she doesn't really ever say anything except for repeating that they brought in new evidence. And what they're saying the new evidence was
I felt like I was in danger.
That he was saving the other guy's life.
He said that from the beginning in his initial statement. Right?
Correct.
And for anybody who's trained in this area, that is exactly what you're going to say, because Minnesota State Statute 609065, the use of deadly force, says that to use that, you have to believe that your life or somebody else's life is in imminent danger of great bodily harm or death. Right?
Correct.
So every police officer, everybody who carries, every conceal and carry individual knows what to say to make sure that you are able to articulate if you were intending to shoot or not intending to shoot, or what you felt at the time, right? So for her to even try to play that these officers never said that from the beginning is just complete BS.
It's just bullshit.
It's complete BS.
All right, so I'm not sure what this next...
Keep calling them officers. I'm not. I know they're troopers, but that's my mindset.
Yeah. So this next clip is her talking about, like, well, they could have just let him go. They knew who he was.
Yeah, play that, because I want to blow this one up here for a minute.
And I think this is a fundamental problem with all of law enforcement, that they are trained to control. They are trained for compliance, right? And so one of the interesting things in one of the troopers' statements, they were asked if there were any other alternatives here, and he never said, I could have let him go.
So I love that, right? So what she's implying there is, and she goes on to talk about it, that Ricky Cobb didn't need to die. They could have just let him go.
Yeah, because they knew who he was.
They knew who he was. They could have let him go. Sure, you could have done that, but then maybe somebody else down the line is in danger, right? But here's the other thing. This is the ridiculous side of this. You're a police officer, you're a state trooper, you're FBI, you're whatever you are. You're not in the business of letting people go that are criminals.
Right.
Right? Your job is to take them into custody to serve the greater good for the public, right? That's your job.
Correct.
So what she is effectively saying here is that, well, you could have just let him go because you knew who he was and just let him drive off down the road and get him later. Okay, what's the difference if I get him in his car or if I get him in his house?
Yeah.
If I get him in his house, it's more dangerous for me.
Right. Or whoever else is in the house.
Whoever else is there and in the house. But then we're going to have the same conversation if I shoot him in his house because he's got a gun.
Right, and if he can just keep fleeing, you know that he can just keep going.
Right,
like,
so every criminal in Minneapolis, every criminal anywhere in Ramsey County, go ahead and get in your vehicle if Mary Moriarty's the DA. Get in your vehicle and drive, because you can't be arrested in your vehicle. They'll just let you go.
Yeah, you can just go. And
if that doesn't scream stupidity, I mean, the fact that she even put that out there, I mean, complete activist, you know.
Which is a Soros-backed DA.
She is I'm glad you brought that up. She's
she got $500,000 from Soros-backed groups.
Yep, and that's how this whole shtick works, right? I mean, you're getting these activist people put in place in the district attorney's offices, judges, things like that, and they're always backed by the left. They're always backed by these groups. And the way Soros works is he's not paying these people directly. He has a plethora of nonprofit organizations that he donates his money to, and each one of these organizations does, you know, donations to these groups en masse. So yeah, it's not one group giving her $500,000. It's probably 500 groups giving her $1,000, and that's how this works with Soros. And that's the stain that he has on our legal system, our justice system. It's getting out of hand. I mean, this would never have been prosecuted 20 years ago.
Well, it would have never gone this far, even 5 years ago.
And I'll be honest with you, 25, 30, 40 years ago, you did not see this many police-involved shootings. Do you know why?
Yeah.
Because they weren't being backed up and arrests were being made, and as a criminal, you knew, like, wow, shit, they got me. It's better than getting dead.
Right.
Right? You didn't have somebody in your corner to get criminals out of prison on stupid ways to get them out of jail or to let them go.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the fact now that St. Paul, Minneapolis police departments don't chase. If you run, you're good. Don't worry. We're not going to chase you. You have Ramsey County that chases.
Ramsey County will chase. Hennepin County, I don't believe does.
They don't.
But a lot of cities in Hennepin County do.
Yep.
Like a lot of
the surrounding suburbs.
Yep, the first ring, second ring suburbs, and the troopers will chase, but not on city streets.
Not on cities. Yep. So I mean, you're looking at like how many people are getting away with stuff.
Yeah, they just drive to Minneapolis because in all the first ring suburbs, like as soon as they get into Minneapolis, they have to cancel because Minneapolis won't back them.
Minneapolis won't back them and won't allow them in for reciprocity. So I mean, it's disgusting the way this is working. I mean, you have activist people in activist areas, and I'll be honest, Walls and Keith Ellison, they're both activists too.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so the fact that this is a battle between the two, and Mary Moriarty points it out here that Keith Ellison is in control of state troopers, his Capitol Guard is by the troopers, and so he's got a vested interest in making sure this goes away. She says that, and then she goes on to say he targets me because I'm a lesbian, and that's why he was going to take the case away.
Which it's funny because Angie Craig, a U.S. representative for one of the districts in the southern suburbs in Minneapolis, came out and defended. She's a lesbian. She came out and defended him and said, absolutely not. Like, Tim Walz was one of the first ones to support, you know.
But here's the problem, and this is what I hate right off the bat. You said it. They immediately went to Ricky Cobb's family and met with him.
Correct.
Right?
In secret.
In secret. So that already gives the perception that, okay, you're waiting for the evidence, but you're already looking at it. You're locked and loaded to dime this kid out, to go after the cop. Correct. You're not waiting for the evidence. You're already positioning yourself politically to take the side of this kid who is killed. Mm-hmm. He's not a decent human being. I mean, the shit he was, convicted of, that he was charged with, and he has a gun in his car. Now, I'm not against everybody owning a firearm. I don't care about that, but he's a convicted felon.
Right.
And he's got a firearm. So that's another crime on top of things. And you look at his Facebook page, you look at some of the stuff he had on his Facebook page.
Yeah, and if you actually pull up his lawyer's press conference on YouTube, he shows like the picture, and he goes after the media too about like, this is the picture that you guys show, and this is the pictures that he put on his profile for his profile picture, and it's him holding a couple of guns, but the one that they show is like him dressed up in a suit or whatever for if it's a wedding or something. It's always
like a church event that they're at that it's the best depiction
for sure. So he went after them hard.
Well, of course, and you should.
It's good.
You should, because it's not. I mean, here you have a state trooper who's out there every day. He is the one who's putting his ass on the line, right? And he's got to be perfect 100% of the time. And I think this trooper, correct me if I'm wrong, he was given awards for like pulling over the most
but he'd
people
only been on the force like 500 some days, and like he got like year-long awards, and he only worked 3 months in that year. Like, but he like for DUI arrests, he got three. He got three hat tricks awards, which is a hat trick award is if you pull three DUIs in one shift.
Yeah. And I mean, this kid's out there doing his job, actually making sure the streets are safer.
Yeah.
And then you have the other side of this. You have a convicted felon who's quasi dangerous, could be dangerous, and he tries to run and he puts everybody in danger, including himself.
Mm-hmm. So this next clip is about the cops alert.
Trooper Londregan heard Trooper Seide get a cops alert. That stands for Keep Our Police Safe. This is an internal database that police have. This is the database where they learned that Trooper Seide had a critical hit after he put in the license plate number on Mr. Cobb that told him that there was an outstanding felony violation of an order for protection. Now, what Trooper Seide didn't know at this point, Ricky Cobb had already been convicted of felony domestic strangulation. He also didn't know that he had a gun in his car. And what I heard today is that that was irrelevant. Well, do you think that might have had a bearing in why, when Trooper Londregan opened up that car door, that Ricky Cobb took off? He was a felon in possession of a firearm. And the troopers were just about to enter that vehicle and find it.
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, self-preservation, right?
Yeah. So this just talks about like what we talked about, but.
And this is, I hate this too, because, I mean, could these guys have let Ricky Cobb go? Sure.
Yeah.
Is it what they're trained to do? No.
No.
Should they let him go?
No.
No, they should not. They could have,
Mm-hmm.
but they should not have,
No.
right? Now, Ricky Cobb made the decision to take off, and if this lawyer's, the defense attorney there for Londregan's right, because he believed he was going to get in trouble because he's a felon, he had a firearm, whatever. So Ricky Cobb takes off. Well, this is the stupidity that I just can't put up with, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're going to go to prison for running from an officer, no matter what. So you might as well take the gun charge.
Yeah.
Get out of the vehicle, take the gun charge. But
Right.
my guess is there's something more behind the scenes that he knew he was suspected of other stuff and was like, oh shit, well.
Right, yeah, depending on what that cop's alert was for.
Right.
How did he violate that order of protection?
Right. So, I mean, we're probably not getting the full story.
No,
And we're
and
probably
you'll never
never
will.
going to get the full
No.
story. And that's the shit that pisses me off. Like,
Yeah.
you don't just run. And these kids know. I mean, you look at some of the videos that you can find from Minneapolis where kids are like, we'll just run from Minneapolis. But then they also know, don't run from Ramsey County. Don't run from the troopers.
Yeah.
They know that,
Yeah.
right? So, I don't know.
All right, we got one last clip here from Londregan's attorney.
No, it's preposterous. This county attorney was hell-bent on prosecuting a cop.
Because she's an activist.
Yeah.
She could not wait for a case like this to come up. And it would have made zero difference. Look at all the facts that we gave here. I have 5 sworn declarations from existing troopers, 2 other paid experts, and Noble, their own experts, saying that, and she still went forward. And now we're saying, oh boy, had I known that, what I know now, it's garbage.
So it's obvious that this was an attempt to get her name on the map for putting a cop in prison. I mean, she wanted a bit of that George Floyd justice, and you can just tell by her demeanor and the way she came out in that press conference, she is 100% an activist.
Yeah, and here's this last clip that we'll play about this, and we'll wrap it up. But this was her with another reporter in Minnesota on another podcast, and they go back and forth about. She had said that he took it away from her because she was a lesbian.
They play it.
And he kind of came back, well, that's not this part. But then, so at the end, she challenges that Governor Walz never called her to find out about the case. Like, how would he know what the evidence was?
I will tell you the governor said he doesn't pick up the phone to call county attorneys. He did consult with legal experts. That's how he came. He did not get all of his information from the news. That's what he said at a news conference yesterday. We do appreciate your taking time to explain in detail your decision making in this case. And thank you again.
Can I just ask you? No, can I just ask
Yes,
you how it is that legal experts who know nothing about the facts of this case, it just, like, why would the governor pick up the phone and call a legal expert who does not have the facts of this case? Because facts are always very important. So the idea that the governor cannot pick up the phone to call the people with the most information about it is really pretty shocking and disturbing.
I promise at my next opportunity, I will ask the governor that very question. Mary Moriarty, thank you so much.
So the reason I wanted to play that was because the only facts that she had were the body cam footage that everyone had, the dash cam footage. They didn't give her statements.
She was creating her own facts.
Right, correct. She's making stuff up.
And
like, even her own, like, as the defense attorney said, her own use of force expert, 2 of them actually, said there was nothing here.
Right, and I mean, she had all the statements that he proved her own statement, her own paperwork that was signed by,
Correct.
Her
office.
Had all the information, and she just... It's to me, it rings true of all activism. All activists, like, they get so caught up and they get so tunnel vision they just have a single focus, right? They just go for it. And it doesn't matter. You're never going to convince somebody like that she's wrong. She will always take that and defend. She's a victim. That's the mentality, right? And she's going to tell the family they were victims because that's the mentality. Whether the family understands that or not, that's what they do. So, Londregan, I mean, bro, you did the right thing. You defended your buddy. You made sure that you both came home safe. It sucks pulling the trigger. Had to be done. Mary Moriarty, shut the fuck up. Londregan's attorney, you're a boss.
You're the fucking man.
You're the man. And Walls and Ellison, stop this bullshit. Stop meeting with families in secret and trying to politically motivate or position yourself depending on which way the wind's blowing. This is your fault. This is all your fault. If you hadn't had that meeting, if you would have waited to see what the facts in the case were, if you would have watched the body cam videos, if you wouldn't have immediately gone there to try to, keep your jobs because...
Score political points.
Yeah, score political points. If you would have waited, maybe Mary Moriarty never picks up steam. All right?
Mm-hmm.
Just a bunch of bullshit is what it is.
Yeah.
All right, but I think we
hit that. That was enough.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us for this short one.
Hopefully, sorry if the sound's bad. We just thought we'd try to do something in the middle of the week so we could get something out, and I don't know, we'll call it happy hour or something.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Right on.
Give us a spiel.
Oh yeah, check us out on our website, Facebook, X, all of them.
All right.
Truth.
Well, thanks everybody for joining us, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Thank you.